Well, there was a little sunshine this morning. It's been raining a lot, but it seems to have stopped for now. And I went for a short walk to salute the day, and it's a Sunday. One of my favourite places to walk where I live is an abandoned park. I say abandoned because sort of polite people don't go there. It's a beautiful park, actually, and it's mainly the domain of the young people that live around the area. It's quite a poor area, a council estate, and a lot of lads hang out down there, in sort of gangs and stuff, or groups, and they ride their motorcycles down there. Not, probably full size motorcycles. These aren't modern electric bikes. They've got really fast ones, and there's quite a long metalled path running all the way around the park, and they ride on that at great speed. So you have to be careful if you're walking on it because it's their park, really. There's no seats for fellows like myself who wants to sit down. There is a log at a certain point, but that's about it. It's quite large, a few acres. And there's a fishing lake as well, in a secluded spot. And again, it's not, the only people that I've met down there are some local lads fishing, lads probably about 30 years old, I should think, fishing with a vengeance and drinking beer with a vengeance and throwing the cans, all over the place. And that's how it is down there. There's a lot of litter in some of the places. There's a little dell that I like to walk through, and it's very secluded, but it's absolutely full of cans and bottles and just rubbish thrown there. So it has a bad reputation in the area, and when I mention to local people that I like walking down there, they look at me askance, that it's not a nice place to be, and you have to watch yourself down there. But I don't fear those young people at all. I don't think that they wish me any ill. I think quite often the ill is the opposite way around. The local worthies look down on them, the way that they act and the way that they behave, smoking their vapor cigarettes and drinking their White Storm cider or their beer or whatever, and just hanging out in excessively large groups, meaning more than 4 or 5, and frightening the local people. But there's no reason to be frightened. The trouble is, you see, people can be quite bigoted sometimes, and they will think to themselves, well, why should I have to walk off the path? It's not their path. But it kind of is, and that's what I like about it. It hasn't got the interference of the local worthies, particularly. They've withdrawn, so it isn't as twee as some areas like that can get to be. There's another one near my house which is far more well favoured and clean, and it has the litter pickers going up and down. But nonetheless, we do need to pick up litter. I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing at the moment that we're seeing people more and more getting back to taking care of the streets the way that it used to be until everything was placed in the hands of the local councils. Of course, it's our job to keep our villages and our cities and towns clean, and it's no good getting on one's high horse because one man's thrown a can on the ground. There's always going to be people doing that. It's not our job to tell people how to behave, I don't think. But I do think it's our job to try and pick litter up if we can do it surreptitiously. I don't know whether you need to wear a badge the way that people do, and I think that might be a little bit. I'm always wary of signalling with things like that. I think you can do it quietly, but I don't know. I mean, the trouble is there's so much litter down in that park that even if I were to go down there with a bag every day, I would be at it for, probably my life wouldn't suffice to make any difference. So it does need a concerted effort. But I'm very loath to call for one, because that concerted effort would then probably could spiral into let's clean up the park, and really the lads, mainly the young people that use it and consider it to be their domain, would be effectively ousted. They put up barriers to stop them taking their motorcycles in. They put a warden or somebody. When I inquired about the fishing down there from the lads that were fishing, who seemed to be having a pretty nice time and had plenty of beer with them, they actually, when they realized that I wasn't going to criticize them, they became pretty friendly actually. And I was led to believe that I would be allowed to go fishing. I said, well, do you need a license? Oh, no. Nobody ever comes down here. You're all right. You can come here if you want. They gave me permission to go and fish down there. Not that I got any fishing tackle or probably any time. I did used to enjoy fishing in my youth. And I still liked, I think it's a nice thing to be sitting down by a lake and contemplating and fishing. I mean, the craft is fascinating. So, I did suggest that maybe it would be nice to have some benches in the park, but again, that hasn't been taken up, I don't think. And it's just it's risky terrain, you see, because once they decide, right, we'll clean it up, we'll do this, that, and the other, there's a risk that it will then no longer be available and no longer be the domain of those young people. And they need, I mean, the young people these days, with the nonsense they have to put up with at school and the difficulties that they have at home, and the lack of instruction. The wells in Great Britain are polluted. The water isn't clean. We don't have pure water, and this is true of the water in our taps, which is poisoned. But it's also true of the water of instruction. There's no deep draught that one can take of pure truth, because the teachers are all gone astray. They've gone aside. They are corrupted. They're uplifted. They're not following the Lord's instructions. And I just feel that it's changing. There's a change brewing. There's something growing, isn't there? There's been so much revelation over first of all, the flat Earth revelation, which has really spread, and it's very much under the radar because it's so severely opposed on social media. But more and more people are coming to this understanding, and it's a pretty big one. And then, of course, there was the pandemic, which showed the corruption, didn't it, in very often in churches, in local communities, and it showed how willing so many people are just to do what they're told. They suck on the teats of the state, and that's all they care about. As long as I've been told to do this. But then when you look at what governments are doing and what they stand for, and the theft, why would you be so willing to conform and to comply? And when you examine the financial incentives, the money mills that are going on behind a lot of this wheeling and dealing. I mean, I'm a Christian. I don't think that sedition is the answer to this at all. I comply with government edicts. I certainly don't, give my body to the government to do as they please. I think that's really a step much too far. But I pay my taxes and I obey the law of the land, as far as it doesn't conflict with the law of the Bible. And of course, sometimes in some matters it does. And then of course, I follow God's law. I think that's my right. Anyway, good morning to everybody and God bless.